Hello, I'm Erik Robey.
And I'm Karla Schaffer, and this is Anne Arundel County Week in Review, making headlines around the county this week. Earlier this week, Anne Arundel County Council approved a comprehensive rezoning bill for Severna Park and Pasadena areas. The council voted 6-1 to approve the zoning measure, which includes controversial plans for intensive development of apartments and retail on Long Hill Road in Pasadena. Councilman John J. Grasso, a Glen Burnie Republican, was the lone dissenter. He urged County Executive John Leopold to veto the entire bill. A group of Pasadena residents say they are planning to mount a signature drive in order to get a ballot referendum on the zoning bill.
In an effort to better mitigate military-based expansion-related road impacts around Fort George G. Meade, Anne Arundel County Executive John Leopold expressed his strong support of recently passed House of Representatives FY 2012 Defense Authorization Bill to key lawmakers. In letters sent yesterday to Senate Armed Services Committee Chairman Carl Levin, Democrat from Michigan, Senate Armed Services Committee Ranking Member John McCain, Republican from Arizona, Senate Appropriations Committee Senior Member Barbara Mikulski from the home state of Maryland, and Senator Ben Cardin, also from Maryland. Leopold encouraged the senators to expand Department of Defense authority to use military construction appropriations to mitigate impacts on local roads, dedicated a $40 million supporting budget line item, and eliminate current requirements to only provide road improvement assistance if expected base expansion-related traffic doubles. Base realignment and closure happened in 2005 has placed severe demands on the transportation infrastructure surrounding Fort Meade. Of the $1.1 billion of required transportation improvements within 5 miles of Fort Meade, only $60 million of the improvements are currently funded for construction. Mr. Leopold stated, "Please do all that you can to ensure that the FY 12 Defense Authorization Bill includes the provisions of H.R. 1540 addressing DoD's role to mitigate impacts to local roads and increase funding to the Defense Access Roads Program. Provisions to expand DoD authority dedicated the protected funding source and changes to the current assistance requirement were contained within the resolution, but not the Senate proposed version of the Defense Authorization Bill."
County Executive Leopold has announced that a year of implementing a new system of planning, designing, and executing construction projects has resulted in a reduction of more than $38 million in change orders. Every dollar counts in this difficult economy, and government must change the way it does business to free up more money for capital projects, County Executive Leopold said. In a short period of time, the changes we have made have paid dividends. The Leopold administration has taken several steps to improve the design process for change orders. First, by improving the purchasing manual to include qualifications-based selection for design consultants, creating an efficient negotiation process between design consultants and the Department of Public Works. Next, 2 project control specialists were hired with the County Council approval. Their job is to critically scrutinize change order requests, assist in the negotiation process with design consultants and contractors, and further develop project controls to improve the overall project delivery process. Performance metrics show that change order activity as a percentage of open and active purchase orders has declined from 11.94% in May 2009 to 5.95% in November of 2011. Applying that decrease to an average of $615 million in capital projects comes out to a difference of approximately $38 million.
Well, this week we have a special guest on the show. County Executive John Leopold is with Kathleen O'Connor from the Health Department to talk about Healthy Start program. We'll send it out to County Executive Leopold.
With me today is Kathleen O'Connor, works for the County Health Department, who's going to talk to us about her responsibilities at the Health Department, including the Healthy Start program. Kathleen, welcome to the show.
Thank you, John. Nice to be here.
Tell me a little bit about Healthy Start. What is the program for those of us of the listeners who may never have heard of it?
Well, I hope everyone has heard of it. Healthy Start is a wonderful program that the Health Department has for pregnant women and their babies who may be low income, have limited resources, or need help accessing prenatal care. So the Healthy Start nurses, the dedicated nurses, make home visits. They provide telephone case management, and they talk to the pregnant women about prenatal care, health insurance, and parenting skills, also safe sleep.
What is safe sleep?
Safe sleep, I'm so glad you asked. That's a great question. Safe sleep, all you need to remember is A, B, C. Alone, on her back, in a crib. So putting your baby on her back is the best and safest way to sleep because we're dedicated to ensuring all babies are healthy in Anne Arundel County.
Great. Well, let me ask you, who funds Healthy Start? How's that funded?
Healthy Start is a combination funding from the state of Maryland as well as the county. We have limited resources, but we do a fabulous job with what we have.
How long has the program been in existence?
The program has been in existence about 15 years now. And we, as I said, we make home visits. We do about 2,000 home visits a year with a very small staff of nurses and social workers.
2,000 citizens a year. And I assume the geographical representation all throughout the county?
Absolutely. You know, we want to make sure that the high-risk pregnant ladies are who we're seeing, those who need us the most. So we look at where the needs are, take a look at the census tracts, and base the caseloads for the nurses on where those needs are.
How do you identify somebody who needs help? Are you going door to door, or do people look at an email address? How do they know that they could receive help if they wanted it?
Well, they can always give us a call at 410-222-7177, or they can look for us on the website aahealth.org.
But how do these people come to you? How do you know that where to go?
I get it. The referrals we get are from private providers.
Okay.
If they're seeing a woman who maybe is coming in late to prenatal care, has specific needs, doesn't have health insurance, they will make a referral to Healthy Start. If the hospital, physicians, OBGYNs, whomever can make a referral. And if they need information about that, it is right on our website.
For those who may not understand why it's so important, could you explain why prenatal care is very important?
Well, as you know, the Health Department of Anne Arundel County is committed to ensuring healthy babies and healthy moms for all of our residents.
Okay.
And decreasing infant mortality is a goal of ours that we share with the state and Governor O'Malley.
So it's to save lives, that's
Absolutely,
number one.
to save lives.
And to have healthy children.
And to have healthy children.
Do you recommend that mothers not smoke, for example?
Absolutely. We do a lot of smoking cessation for the moms. We talk to them about healthy eating, what you should be doing as far as exercise, you know, even dental care. All of that rolled into one. It's really a comprehensive program.
I don't know whether you knew it or not, but I created a new parenting program for the parents of middle school age children. This is at the community college because that's a very traumatic time in young people's lives.
Absolutely.
And parents can find help in being able to identify, for example, gang activity, the warning signs, and other signs that might of troubles that the children might have. And so it's been very well received at the community college. I attended an event there where all the parents came, and there was an all-day conference, and it was very, very effective, I think.
I'm sure it is, and we could use all the help we can get.
Many years ago, I served on the University of Maryland Infant Studies Center Board, which sought to identify psychological problems in infants. Now, in your work, do you ever get into the psychological ends of things?
Well, as you know, we are not psychiatrists and we're not nurse practitioners. We don't provide that medical care. What we do is help the parents navigate that medical system.
You can identify, perhaps,
absolutely,
and then refer.
And then make a referral.
Have you done that?
Absolutely. You would be impressed, I think, to see what our caseload has been and how we have navigated the system with these moms and babies.
I mean, can you? And I know you're not a professional in being able to identify psychological problems, but can you see certain signs, certain warning signs, which indicate to you that this person could use help with somebody who's knowledgeable about psychiatry?
Absolutely, and that is why the staff that goes out to do the home visits are registered nurses and medical social workers.
Well, that's great. Is there anything else you'd like to add about the program?
It's fantastic, and I just want to thank all of the staff. It's a pleasure to work with them.
Very good. Well, thank you for taking the time to come on the show and inform our citizens about this very important program.
Thank you. There's more Weekend Review to come, folks. When we come back, we'll be joined by Rick Hutzell from the Maryland Gazette. But take a look at the community calendar for what's happening around your county. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
It's cold and flu season, and the last thing you want is to be sick or make others sick. So here's what you do to stop germs and stay healthy. Cover your coughs. Wash your hands after sneezing, coughing, or blowing your nose. Wash with warm water and soap for 20 seconds, and then dry. When you can't wash your hands, use an alcohol-based sanitizer. If you do get sick, stay home. Stop germs, stay healthy.
And welcome back. Well, last week we talked to you a little bit about Facebook and how people are getting their news through Anne Arundel County breaking news and events. But there's been a way to get their news for years and years and years, especially in the North County area. So we brought in Rick Hutzell, the editor of our Maryland Gazette newspaper. Rick, thanks for joining us.
Glad to be here.
When we talk about that, the Gazette's been around for years. You took over the editor a few years ago.
6 years ago.
6 years ago. It's been that long.
Yeah.
Wow.
Time flies.
Time does fly when you're having fun. Tell us a little bit about how the Gazette has evolved in the last 6 years.
Well, you know, it has been around for a while. It actually is, I think, 275 years old. The official story is that it's the oldest continuously published newspaper in America. There are other newspapers around the country that claim to be the oldest this or the oldest that, but we were founded in 1721 when Facebook and Twitter and all those things obviously didn't exist. There's just a fascinating history to the paper. You know, one of the early publishers was Anne Catherine Green, who was one of the first women newspaper publishers in the country. She's, you know, Jonas Green obviously was one of the Sons of Liberty. He was her husband. The editor during the Civil War famously endorsed Abraham Lincoln and was one of 3 people in Anne Arundel County to vote for him. So everybody else burned his house down. You know, there's a long history of the Maryland Gazette having really close ties to the community. About 60 years ago, the paper moved to North County. It really started to shift so that our sister paper, the Capital Annapolis, started spreading out beyond Annapolis into that area. And the Maryland Gazette really became a North County paper as opposed to just the area outside of Annapolis. In the past 30 years, there have been 3 editors. Myself, for the past 6 years. Previous to that, Bob Mosier, and previous to that, Bob Goodman. I joked for a while when I became editor, they had to go out and buy an R because they didn't have, they were all Bobs. And what's happened in the past 6 years is what's happened to the newspaper industry in general. There has been a shift in the way some people want to consume their news. They're looking for it on electronic devices like phones. They're looking for it on the computer through social networking sites like Facebook. And our readership has always been people who are established in the community. We have a lot of older readers who are slow to adopt those technologies. We have a lot of readers who may read the paper because it's the paper their grandparents read, their parents read, then they read. Newspaper readership tends to be people, as I said, who are established in the community, may own a home, have a family, and they begin to get interested in what's going on locally. That's still true, but there has been, people are, for whatever reason, because they prefer to consume information electronically or because they have less time to do that. Our readership has gone down somewhat. I think right now we're currently around 20,000 twice a week, which is still a very large number of people who read the paper. And you guys are trying to adapt to this by going more online. We are. We actually, at the beginning of this year, we started, we've had a website for 10 years. It's always been a very static thing where it's the stories that are posted in the paper on the day that's happened. For the last year, we've changed the website so that it's mdgazette.com. And we are, to a certain extent, doing what's called reverse publishing. Rather than wait till the print edition comes out, we're putting the story up right away. In the past 8 months or so, we've gone beyond that and we've started using social media ourselves. We're Facebooking stories. We're using Twitter to spread the word for people who have it. And we've had some success with that. The information, what we provide is well-sourced, well-crafted stories of interest to the community or about the community. We provide hard news and features done by professional reporters. We have part-time correspondents who live in their communities and report on the events in their communities. And that total package is something you can't get anywhere else. So what we're doing now is we're looking for ways to give it to people in exactly the way they want it, whether it be electronic or be print. You hear people say 10 years, 15 years, 20 years that print newspapers won't be around anymore. I don't believe that. It's a format that is certainly very, very convenient for a lot of people. It's transportable, it's inexpensive, and it's just something that people are used to having, that tactile feeling. At the same point, you know, we are providing people with what we do best, which is report on the community in whatever format they want. And those formats are increasingly popular.
Well, something that you mentioned about the Gazette is you have those traditional stories, you have the hard news, but you also focus on the communities as well. And right now we're seeing the kind of coming of age of the Patch and all of those local community outlets. How has that influenced your reporting?
Well, I think when Patch first came on, you know, we all raised our eyebrows and, ooh, they're going to do exactly what we do. And it's interesting, I watch them, I look at them, some of them are good, some of them are not so good. You know, they're all staffed with a person who is a paid staffer and then everybody else is a freelancer. It's been interesting to watch a huge number of the freelancers who we've worked with over the years. I've been at the company now since 1987, so I've seen a lot of freelance writers. A lot of them have migrated to Patch for whatever reason. You know, they simply have a higher demand probably for freelance writers than we do. What's interesting is a lot of the stories you see done on Patch are stories that we will have done 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 times over the years because they're perennials. They're called evergreens. You know, the stories that get done every year because they come around on the calendar. Doing them well requires seeing a new angle on the story that even though it may have been reported already 7 times, this is something someone hasn't thought about before, or this is a way of looking at it before, this is an aspect about it that people haven't read before. That's tough to do. And so when we started seeing what they were doing, it was less of a concern. You know, on a national level, and I only know what I read in the trade publications, is the future of Patch is, you know, no one knows what's going to happen to it. As a business model, it hasn't made money yet. The company that owns it, which I think is AOL, it has not been very clear about exactly where they're going with this. It's called hyper-local news, and it's tough to make money at. It's something that we've been doing for a long time. When the Washington Post and the Baltimore Sun used to have a lot of resources covering news here in Anne Arundel County, we, as a company, my paper and the Capital, survived and thrived by being hyper-local. The Washington Post might come in and do a story about, you know, the county executive launching some initiative, or the Naval Academy doing something, or Fort Meade, the NSA, something like that. But they wouldn't come in, usually, and do a story about this local church's effort to help the homeless. That's what we live on. And so when people really want to find out what's going on, there's a tradition of turning to us. The other news media out there, Patches and some of the others, they have good stories. I'm not going to deny it, and they're worth looking at. But I think people still rely on us because of our track record.
Rick, I love the business of news gathering. You have to, you know, there's so many different aspects on how you can get a story, whether it's your reporters out there just with the connections that they have, whether it's sources that are reliable that are calling you at the paper. But in the age of information, in the age of gotta have it now, what do you find at the Gazette to be the most useful in gathering your news?
I still think it's the personal contact. You know, one of the challenges you have at a paper the size of the Maryland Gazette or at a paper the size of the Capital is that there's a high turnover in staff. I'm not unique at the paper, but I'm unusual. I've came here and I've stayed here for a long time. You know, I put down roots, got married, bought a house, had a kid, had another kid. And most of the reporters who come through our staffs are younger, and they're looking to go on and you know, get to a bigger paper, get to, you know, a paper that has more you know, more of a national reputation, maybe get to a specific beat that they want to. But so when one of these reporters comes in, a lot of what they rely on are people like me who know a lot of people. I have a huge, it used to be called Rolodex, now it's my Outlook contact file, soon to be Google Mail contact file. And so there's a certain amount of balancing there at the beginning. As the reporter begins to get out in the community and do more stories, they bring back more contacts, more sources. People begin to trust them. People begin to know that they're someone who understands what's going on, listens to what they're saying, and writes about it fairly. That's all people ever want. So I think still basic reporting, good, solid reporting is the basis of all news gathering. Right. Sure, your office puts out a huge number of press releases between the various agencies, and those are important to us, and a lot of times we act on them and report them as stories. But being there, seeing something happening, talking to the people involved, not only reports the story of the moment, but it also lays the groundwork for the story of tomorrow. And that simply can't be replaced. Yeah.
Well, a lot of things going on in the news right now, Rick. I mean, you do an editorial column, of course, for the Gazette. I know you're involved with the Capitol as well. But a lot of big stories out there. It seems like, news in this county, there's some times where you're just struggling to find something that's really going on that's going to interest those readers. But what kind of interest stories are you finding that Gazette readers and Capitol readers are paying the most attention to?
Well, it's interesting. Unfortunately, probably the thing that people enjoy reading the most is police news. We were just talking before the show about today, the county police and schools announced that they charged a local teacher with having inappropriate relationships with a couple of students. That story, once we put it up on our website, we don't publish the print edition until Saturday. Once that story went on the website, it was incredibly popular. It instantly became the most popular story on our website. The hits on our Facebook pages were very high. People react viscerally to that kind of news. And some people, that sort of surface affiliation with the news, surface feeling for the news, it doesn't go beyond that. They're looking for that quick hit of, I know what's going on. There are other people who want something deeper. Two of our reporters, Allison Borg, who worked for the Maryland Gazette for about 3 years and is now covering county government at the Capitol, and Ben Weathers, who covers Glen Burnie and some other communities here in North County. They're both following the story about Darrell Jones, who was, of course, convicted and sentenced for failing to fail, I think, 5 years of tax returns. And right now there's a question outstanding about what's going to happen. He's going to serve a 5-month jail sentence starting in January. Will he keep his seat because there's nothing legally apparently to require him to resign, or will he step down? So we have trying to balance following what he is doing and what he is saying with not stalking him. I mean, we're not like following around saying, what are you going to do? So we had a story in Wednesday's paper in which we juxtaposed some pretty hostile comments that came at the county council meeting from some people who ironically were not from his district to just a really positive, happy reception for him. The Anne Arundel County Affordable Housing Coalition named him their Person of the Year, essentially. And it was a real juxtaposition about how the community is reacting to this. Some people, in part because they can make a partisan issue out of it, are very, very unhappy with this and want him gone. Other people, and I think a lot of them in his district, look at his record and they are saddened by what happened and they're hesitant to call for him to step down. I think anybody who knows Darrell Jones knows he's a really nice guy who's concerned about his job, but he's made a terrible mistake. And so we're trying to find a way to report not only what is happening to him, but also how the story is being perceived in the community. There's just been a very large silence from his district. There hasn't been an outcry for him to resign. There hasn't been any real outpouring of reaction at all. He had a huge number of people who went to court with him to support him, many of them from his constituents. So I think it's a really interesting story and a nuanced one to follow that we're particularly well set up to cover because we have people who have covered him for years, know him, know the community, and we can cover it from the perspective of both Annapolis and North County, from Linthicum and Severn and the rest of his district. So there's two real kinds of reporting there. There's the today's headline, which may be a tragedy, the 2 boys who were killed over at Howard County earlier in the month. that has an emotional, visceral impact on you, but I think for the vast majority of readers does not have a long-lasting impact. And then there's a story like this where we're covering it day to day, trying to figure out what's this going to mean for the community. And that's a more complicated thing. You know, on top of that, something that's extremely popular with our readers are our community correspondents. We have, I think, 6 of them who cover different areas of the community, and they cover everything from garden clubs to churches to some of the small things going on in the schools. And that's information that you can't get anywhere else. That's the type of information that a lot of people look at first because it's neighborhood news. It is the original hyperlocal news. And you know, we do it in ways that no one else does. I think when I was at the Capitol, and I was there for, gosh, I guess 17 years before I came to the Gazette, you know, every community had its own correspondent. Not all of them do anymore. The Gazette, we still do that. We have the luxury of doing it because we're a twice-weekly paper, and we've got the space to do it. And also, I think that most of the people in the community realize there's really nowhere else that they can get that information, even with the advent of online resources for news.
Well, Rick, thanks for taking the time.
My pleasure.
Talking a little bit about the newspaper business, folks. The Maryland Gazette, if you live in the North County area, you can always find that in your driveway or in your paper box on Wednesdays and Saturdays. And now, as Rick has talked about, you can get the Gazette online with up-to-date stories about all the information in northern Anne Arundel County. And if you live in Annapolis in the southern portion, check out the Capitol at the Capitol online at hometowninnapolis.com. Rick, thanks for joining us on the show.
My pleasure.
Stay with us, folks. We'll be back with more breaking news and events in Anne Arundel County. Stay with us.
Hello, I'm County Executive John Leopold. Accidents caused by drunk driving can be prevented. Only you can make the difference. Drink responsibly and always buckle up.
On average, every month, 22 Marylanders die as a result of drunk driving crashes.
We don't want to be the designated driver for drunk driving crash victims.
But if you choose to drink and drive, we will find you and provide you with a free ride.
Make the right choice. Drive sober and always buckle up.
Designate a sober driver, or
we'll designate one for you.
Welcome back. The Community Spotlight catches up with none other than Mark Chang this week, who is practicing flipping pancakes at St. Jane Francis in Pasadena, with information about their upcoming annual pancake fundraiser. Mark.
Thanks to you in the studio. I'm out here in Revere Beach in Pasadena, and with me today I have Katie Torrey of St. Jane Francis, and they have an upcoming pancake fundraiser coming up, and that just sounds really yummy. Katie, could you tell us about that?
Sure. On Sunday, December the 11th, we have our 40th annual Pancake Breakfast and Christmas Bazaar. We have the Knights of Columbus who come and generously give their time to cook pancakes and sausage and coffee and juice. And then we also have all sorts of games and prizes for kids and families. We have a cake wheel, we have a Ravens wheel, we have face painting, we have crafts, we have ornament painting, just all sorts of things that children and families will enjoy.
Great. And what is the cost? Where is it at?
Well, it's going to be in the school hall here at St. Jane Francis. And the cost, if you pre-order tickets, it's $20 for a family, $7 for an adult, $5 for seniors or children, and then the day of, it's a couple of dollars more if you buy them at the door.
Great. So this is your 40th annual. So over the past 4 decades, I'm sure this has grown and been a real big community event. About how many folks have you had in the past events?
Well, this is my first year here at St. Jane's, and so I don't have numbers from the past, but I know that we crowd our hall and we serve lots of good food, and the kids run around with their faces painted, and it's just a wonderful, fun morning.
Great. And what is the address over here in Revere Beach?
The address here at the rectory is 8499, but the school, or 8499 Virginia Avenue, the school is actually on St. Jane Drive.
Okay, great. And what is the telephone number, email address that people can get a hold of you on?
You can either call the rectory, 410-255-4646, or send me an email, ktorrey@stjane.org.
Okay, well, before I go, you have this nice quilt here that I see, and could you tell us a little bit about it?
Sure. This quilt was made by a woman named Maria Hutchings, who's the aide in our kindergarten class, and it's a queen-size quilt. It's called Cathedral Window. And we'll be selling raffle tickets up to the breakfast and at the breakfast. Raffle tickets are $2 a piece, 3 for $5. And it's just a gorgeous, gorgeous, very, very colorful quilt that Maria made.
Okay, great. You said this is a queen size quilt.
It's a queen size quilt, that's correct.
Okay, great. Well, folks, come on out to the annual pancake breakfast fundraiser over at St. Jane Frances in Revere Beach. It's a great time for the family to come out, and this is a really nice quilt, so join in and getting a raffle to get one of these. So reporting for Community Spotlight for Weekend Review over in Revere Beach. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Mark. Well, I can smell those pancakes and maple syrup already. Earlier this week, Mark was at Baltimore Washington Medical Center to check out the new technology of radiation oncology to fight cancer. Mark.
Thanks to both of you in the studio. I'm over at the newly expanded Radiation Oncology Suite over at the Tate Cancer Center at the Baltimore Washington Medical Center in Glen Burnie. And with me today, I have Dr. Wendy Citron and also Dr. Mitch O, who are both radiation oncologists over at the Tate Cancer Center. First of all, Dr. Citron, I know you're very busy, and thank you for coming on the show. I'd like to ask you, first of all, what is the Trilogy technology?
So the Trilogy is a radiation treatment machine that combines both treatment technology with imaging technology that'll ultimately allow us to offer different treatment options to our patients, a wider variety of treatment options than we currently had with our existing treatment machine.
Okay, great. And what is this platform right here?
This is the radiation treatment table. So when a patient comes for treatment each day, they lay down on this table. And then this is the treatment machine that can administer their radiation treatment as well as perform imaging studies while they're laying on this table in the treatment position.
Okay, great. Well, this doesn't feel too comfortable taking a nap on every day, but I guess it works for the patients there for the procedure.
That's correct.
Okay. All right, great. Well, thanks a lot, Dr. Citron.
Thank you.
And Dr. Mitch O, and thank you for coming to the show, too.
By all means.
Dr. Citron, with the high rate of cancer rate in Anne Arundel County and the Glen Burnie area, what is so significant about this?
Well, that's a very good question, and as I think about that, I think there are two main critical elements of our having this machine. First of all, it allows us to remain current, both presently and moving into the future. Ours is a very technologically driven field, and changes and advancements are made every day. And secondly, maybe even more importantly, this machine allows us to treat patients with technologies that maybe formerly were not available here, in which patients would have to travel out of our community to get that care. So it allows us to continue to provide for our patients as we have been in the past 2 years, even to a greater degree.
Okay, great. And what type of patients does this type of machine treat?
Well, this machine is not unique in the type of patients that it can treat. I mean, we can treat all types of patients. Okay. However, there are certain types of patients for whom the technology here is particularly advantageous. Okay, for example, patients who have very small tumors near very critical structures, let us say the spinal cord. This machine will have the ability to do what we call stereotactic radiation, in which very small pencil beams can be directed to those tumors. Okay. We're looking forward to what we call gated radiation, in which the machine is able to time the machine so that it hits a moving target, let's say as patients are moving. Okay, and then maybe patients with very critically located tumors, in which we need to be absolutely certain that we're hitting our target. This machine actually has the ability to do a CAT scan while the patient is on the table, again allowing us to have a greater degree of precision.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Dr. O, on this information. Well, this was a $5.6 million expansion of the suite, and the piece of equipment that's right behind us is about a little over $3 million. So it's a significant amount of investment made into this project. And if you want more information about this piece of equipment and other services that are provided by the Tate Cancer Center, you can contact them at 410-553-8100. Reporting for Community Spotlight for Weekend Review of Anne Arundel County from the Tate Cancer Center in Glen Burnie. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Mark.
This week, Mary Felter, Public Information Officer for the Department of Aging and Disabilities, is with Pam Potter, Director of the Senior Center Plus program. Mary?
Thank you, Karla. Today, my guest is Pam Potter, who is the Director of our Senior Center Plus program that we offer at the Department of Aging. Welcome to Weekend Review, Pam.
Thank you for having me, Mary.
I asked you to do the program today so you could talk about the program you administer and exactly what is it and who qualifies for it.
The Senior Center Plus program is a social program for what we call the frail elderly. It offers a level of care between independent senior center participation and medical adult daycare programs, and it's certified by the Maryland Department of Aging.
And what sort of activities does it involve?
Well, we have recreational activities such as physical fitness, music, arts and crafts. The program offers some socialization for the senior, lunch, staff assistance with specialized activities, and transportation. And just as important, it offers a period of respite for the caregiver so they can have some time to do other tasks in their life.
Can you tell me a little history behind the program? How long has this been operating?
Certainly. Now, Senior Center Plus is a program that was developed to meet the needs of less active older adults who wish to still participate in the vigorous atmosphere of a senior center. In the fall of 1994, the Anne Arundel County Department of Aging, as it was called then, received a grant to serve the special population. Some older adults may need some guidance and support in the senior center, but they're not quite ready for adult daycare.
And how does it operate at the senior centers, and what days do you have them there?
Oh, certainly. We have staff or a coach that are available from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. different days of the week at different centers. We offer the program at 4 out of 7 of our senior centers. On Mondays, we're located at the Arnold Senior Center. On Tuesdays, at the O'Malley Senior Center in Odenton. On Wednesdays, we're at the Annapolis Senior Center. And on Thursdays, we're at the Pascal Senior Center in Glen Burnie.
This program does sound like it would be helpful to the older, frailer adult who wants to stay active. What are the requirements to participate?
Well, first of all, the senior must be at least 55 years of age and a resident of Anne Arundel County. Then they must meet certain functional requirements. Most importantly, they must be able to communicate their needs to others.
And what sort of functions do you mean?
Well, the senior must be able to feed themselves. They must be able to use the restroom facility without assistance. They can't be so impaired as to require the level of supervision or assistance that is more appropriately served by medical adult daycare. If medications are required, they must be able to take their medications independently and without supervision.
Do they have to be approved to get into this program?
Yes, you should know that all admissions to the program are assessed and approved by a professional team to ensure that these functional parameters are met. We have an evaluation, and it's conducted by either a registered nurse or a licensed social worker, and it is free of charge. Our mission is to serve clients who are frail but not so impaired that they can't function in a senior center environment.
So then there is a cost for the program, though, correct?
Oh, yes. There's a daily fee of $35 a day, and that includes, your activities, your lunch, transportation if needed, snacks.
$35 for 4 hours with all those, including the food. That's not a bad idea at all. How does someone sign up for your program, Senior Center Plus?
Well, they would call me, Pam Potter, at the Anne Arundel County Department of Aging and Disabilities, 410-222-4464. And I'll give you the number again, 410-222-4464.
And are there openings right now?
We have a few openings, so please don't hesitate to call for some information.
Well, I thank you for coming on the program today, Week in Review, and letting people know about the availability of Senior Center Plus. Thank you, Pam.
Oh, it was my pleasure. Thank you.
This is Mary Felter, Public Information Officer for the Anne Arundel County Department of Aging and Disabilities, and you've been watching our segment on Week in Review. Back to you, Karla.
Thanks, Mary.
In this week's Recreation and Park Spotlight, Carolyn Ryan visits the North Arundel Aquatic Center and the Arundel Olympic Swim Center to see what's afloat this winter. Carolyn.
It's getting cold outside, but things are heating up as we prepare for the winter swimming lessons and programs. I'm here at the North Arundel Aquatic Center in Glen Burnie with Jackie Herman, Recreation Supervisor. Jackie, give us an overview of the classes that are coming up for the winter session.
Well, we start with our Shop, Drop, and Create, which is in December. It's on December 17th, so if you need to get any last-minute shopping in, you can drop your child off here from 9 to 4, and they'll get to swim and make gifts for their friends and family. Nice. So that's the closest one. We also have a Parents' Night Out, which is the third Friday every month. You can drop your child off, and they can watch a movie, they swim. It's a lot of fun. Where swimming lessons, they start back up in January, and we have plenty of openings. The best way to get information is to either go to our program guide, our website, or definitely just call the facility with any questions.
Okay, now as far as the swimming lessons go, what are the ages that those are targeted for?
We start with our preschool fundamentals at age 3, and we go all the way up to adults.
Great, so something for everyone.
Something for everyone. And we also have our water park behind me, which is open Monday through Friday from 5 to 7:45, which you can come in and enjoy the slides and the water buckets and things like that. And you can see our brochure for our weekend time swim schedule.
Okay, now this year we changed the program guide a little bit, so the best way to get information, you said, was?
Either go directly to our website at aacounty.org/recparks and visit the North Arundel Aquatic Center, or you can call the facility at 410-222-0090 and hit extension 4, or come visit us.
Great. Well, let's head down to Annapolis and see how things are shaping up at the Arundel Olympic Swim Center. Darnell, how about the winter classes here at the Arundel Olympic Swim Center? What types of programs are available?
Okay, we have our basic swim level classes. We start from ages 3 on up. All kids must be 3 and fully potty trained. So we have classes broken down with a youth, which goes ages 3 to 5. Our preschool goes ages 3 to 5. Our youth is 6 to 12, and we also have adult level classes. With those classes, we have beginners, which is for non-swimmers for all age brackets. We have intermediate levels, and we also have advanced levels for all age brackets. We're also starting private lessons here, something that we've been doing for a while. One of our newer programs, the way our private lessons work, you come down, it's more one-on-one contact with just an instructor and an individual. We also have a new called semi-private lesson, where it's 2 individuals and 1 instructor, which is still a little more personal attention than you would get in your regular group lessons. We have classes, weekday classes and weekend classes. Weekday classes on a Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday basis. We have Saturday classes, and also new for the winter, starting in January, we're going to be doing Sunday lessons, which we've never done here before. Along with that, we have lifeguard classes. Lifeguard training, you get your lifeguard certification, your CPR, first aid, and your AED training. We have classes January, February, and March. Along with that, we have, we'll continue doing water aerobics and fitness classes, and we also have youth competitive training once you get through our advanced levels of classes for kids between the ages of 4 to 18. You have the ability to go to a level in which you practice like a swim team would, and you have an option to do what's called youth competitive training. Once again, all those programs can be found in our program guide. It can be found on our website, or you can, like I said, you can call here at 410-222-7933. You can talk to the front desk person, ask for the supervisor or the assistant director. That's myself, Darnell Ravenel, or the director, Peter Eddy.
Great. Well, it sounds like there's something for everyone.
Sure is. So come on down. We have a little bit everything for everybody. So.
Great. Well, dive into one of these great swim lessons and swim programs at either of our swim centers here in Anne Arundel County, the North Arundel Aquatic Center in Glen Burnie, or the Arundel Olympic Swim Center here in Annapolis. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Carolyn. Looks like a lot of wet and wild fun is happening around at the county swim centers this winter.
In this week's Hot Topics, the Anne Arundel County Fire Department responded to more than 1,324 calls for service. This included more than 1,012 emergency medical calls and 98 fire calls. 2 accidents this week in South County sent 14 people to area hospitals and caused numerous traffic delays and road closures while the fire department personnel provided care to the injured involved in the incidents. With us now to tell us more about these incidents is Division Chief Michael Cox of the Anne Arundel County Fire Department. Chief?
Thanks, Karla. Around 12:45 p.m. on Saturday, December 3rd, 2011, Anne Arundel County firefighters responded to a reported motor vehicle collision in the area of Route 2 South and Stephanie's Lane in the Edgewater area of the county. The first unit to arrive on the scene reported a 3-car collision with entrapment and injection of one of the occupants. In this case, a car traveling north on Route 2 rear-ended one car that struck a second vehicle in the driver's door. The force of the impact nearly cut one of the vehicles in half. In all, there were 3 people injured as a result of the incident. The first patient, a 52-year-old female, suffered serious but non-life-threatening injuries. She was transported to Anne Arundel Medical Center, Priority 3, via ground ambulance. A second patient, a 45-year-old male, suffered minor injuries, and he also was transported to Anne Arundel Medical Center, Priority 3, via ground ambulance. A third patient, a 24-year-old female, suffered potential life-threatening injuries as a result of the incident. She was transported to the University of Maryland's R. Adams Cowley Shock Trauma Center in Baltimore via Maryland State Police helicopter. In a second incident this week, Anne Arundel County firefighters responded to a second motor vehicle collision where 11 people were injured. This incident also occurred in the Edgewater area and happened around 3:45 p.m. on Monday, December 5th, 2011. The incident actually occurred in the area of Route 2, which is Solomon's Island Road, near Mitchell's Chance Road. The first units to arrive on the scene of this incident reported a multi-vehicle rear-end collision, again with 11 people injured. All 11 patients suffered minor injuries and were transported in 6 different medical units to Anne Arundel Medical Center in Annapolis, where they were all evaluated and treated for their injuries. Karla?
Thanks, Chief. County law enforcement officials advised that both accidents caused road closures and significant delays in the area, including closure of some secondary roadways during the investigation process.
Well, Karla, I got to say this. I ran into one of our viewers out there this week. He sends his best to you.
Okay.
But he said to me that every week he watches the show, and when we do our report on the fire department, he says that's the 4-digit lottery number that he plays. How many ever calls they responded to, that's what he plays.
Has it ever been successful? Has he ever won?
No, I should ask. I got to call him and ask him, because if he wins, we should be
getting a cut of the winnings.
Yeah, but I got to check with the Ethics Commission. I don't know if we can get that on it.
Probably not.
Probably not. But good sports this week.
Good sports
Winter
this week.
sports are well into play. Actually, most high school basketball teams are tipping off. The wrestling season started. A lot of fun out there. It's getting cold, though.
It is.
So go indoors. Good day, sports fans. Well, they pulled the mats out at North County High School, where it's been over 20 years since the Knights have defeated wrestling powerhouse Old Mill. But things changed on Tuesday evening as Coach Wayne Liddick and his North County squad were ready for the Pats, as Brad Moats and Cody Byman helped deliver the first victory of the season for North County as they topped Old Mill 42-21 at the Tri-Meet. History was also made at the Tri-Meet that had featured Glen Burnie. Old Mill defeated the Gophers 84-0, and North County won 82-0. It's the first time a squad has failed to record a single point in a tri-match in Anne Arundel County. Elsewhere, the Meade Mustangs swept their meet during defeating Northeast and Southern, and also Arundel recorded its sweep of the season with wins over Severna Park and Annapolis. Moving off the mats and onto the hardwood, the Spalding Cavaliers, behind 29 points from Erik Fisher, picked up the win number 2 on the season against Glenelg Country School. The Cavs actually trailed by 5, 49-44 at the start of the fourth quarter, but exploded for 9 unanswered, 2 of those being from 3-point range by Greg Brown, who finished with 14 points on the night for Spalding. The Cavs win it 65-57. Elsewhere, Annapolis Area Christian School picks up the win over St. Mary's 65-59. North County beats Southside Academy 70-59. Corey Martin led all scorers with 20 points. And finally today, last Friday, was a huge evening for students, parents, and everyone involved in the Old Mill community as the Patriots recorded their 2nd state football championship in the last 3 years. And they made it exciting as they came back from 21 points down, winning the game in overtime on a 2-point conversion. First-year coach Chuck McCormick and his Patriots squad sure have a lot to be proud of this week, Karla.
Yeah.
It was a great game.
I didn't watch it, but I heard about it.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
it was amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, Old Mill, like I said, down 21 points.
Yeah, I didn't realize they were down by that much.
Yeah.
Come back and win.
They go into overtime. Quince Orchard scores on the first possession. So as the rules dictate, Old Mill gets a chance. Old Mill comes down and scores. But instead of going for the extra point, they go for two. They get the win.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
It's gutsy.
It's very gutsy, but it's, you know, it's exciting.
Paid off.
It's exciting. You know, earlier in the show, we were talking a little bit about Carol and Ryan talking about our water parks,
swim centers,
and everybody getting out there having fun. I got to tell you, there's nothing better than getting in a nice swimming pool indoors in the middle of the winter.
In the wintertime. Yeah, and I mean, it's a fun activity too. You know, if you go to the North Arundel Aquatic Center, they do have that water park. So if you're looking for something to do with the kids, you know, it's a blustery day out. It's not the nicest of weather. You can bring them and do that.
And people don't realize it. Our North Anne Arundel Aquatic Center, it's not just a pool, folks. There's a kids' activities there. There are slides. There's 2 pools. I mean, there is a lot of fun for folks to be had. It's like its own little water park, indoor in Anne Arundel
And for boring
County.
people like me, there's a lot of lap lanes if you want to do some laps. But they also have, you know, water classes. I've seen people doing water Zumba and all sorts of things.
I thought you were going to say you're one of the ones on the side reading the book.
No, one of the ones swimming laps next to all the water Zumba people.
You know, thinking of that too, when you look at water parks, I tell you, here's a little secret for you folks out there, and that's what I want to tell you. When it rains, you get a little bit of rain on a hot sunny day, everybody clears out of the water park, and it's empty. What are you thinking? You're getting wet. You're in the water. You're at the water park. Who cares if it's raining, as long as it's not the lightning, of course.
Well, you don't have to worry about that here because it's covered. So.
It's indoor.
Yeah.
Man, you're smart. Well, folks, that wraps up this week's edition of Week in Review. You can watch this episode and any others online anytime at www.aacounty.org. Archive episodes are available at blip.tv and on YouTube. You can also subscribe to the free video podcast at iTunes. Please tune in again next week for more highlights and news from around your county. We'll see you next time.